Alrighty, I am here with another good old Destiny 2 Solar Titan builds after Solar 3.0. Last time I made a build with Loreley Splendor, which still works and works pretty well even without the new Solar 3.0 stuff, but I decided to take a crack at how Path of the Burning Steps would do. In case you didn't know, looks like Bungie did stealth nerf Path of the Burning Steps. It used to go up to Firewalker times 5 last time I used it, which was during Season of the Splicer. Seems like now the stack only goes up to 4. So that's something to keep in mind. As far as weapons I'm using, the kinetic slide doesn't really matter. I'm using Fortissimo. I don't really do anything with that. Um, I might instead put like a sniper here, just because Teraba is such a close range weapon. You can replace Teraba with Prometheus Lens or like Sunshot. Tommy's Matchbook doesn't really work as well. If you want to use Tommy's Matchbook, use Loreley Splendor, because basically now you kind of can't die even when you're taking damage from Tommy's Matchbook. And I would not suggest using a Glaive for this, just because that Firewalker does have a 10-second countdown, and sometimes the span between kills can vary with a Glaive. Um, for the heavy weapon of choice, I would not suggest using a sword, just because it requires you to kind of get in super close, so as you can't really do damage from a certain distance. I'm using Hezen Vengeance with auto-loading holster and cluster bomb. Definitely have a solar heavy here. You can use Cataclysmic, the new Vow of the Disciple, Raid, Linear Fusion Rifle. I prefer my heavy weapons to have auto-loading, but my personal preference. For my actual solar, use Hammer of Saul, do not use Burning Maul. Specifically, just so, in case you're facing like a servant or something like that, you can hit him in the air. For a barricade, I'm using Towering. Um, However, I don't really have to use barricades, so I don't know. I'm using this build, but definitely probably Towering Barricade. I obviously use High Lift. For the melee, I use Throwing Hammer. Throwing Hammer does actually activate Path of the Burning Steps. It does actually activate it. I don't know why, but when you can pick that up, you get basically a burst of healing. Similar to Heal Thyself. I use Fusion Grenades. You can use other grenades. The only other grenades that I probably would use are the Swarm Grenade, but I like Fusion Grenades. You could also use the Hammer Strike melee, but I prefer using the Throwing Hammer. Aspects, I use Roaring Flames and Soul of Invictus. I don't care for Consecration because I don't really like sliding and doing all sorts of stuff with that. Also, maximum amount of fragment slots. Speaking of fragments, I use Ember of Wonder, gets you those orbs of power. I like the boost of resilience. Ember of Combustion, that one doesn't really matter to me too much, but I mostly use it for the extra strength. Ember of Solace, definitely whenever I get these effects, definitely want them to last with Path of the Burning Steps, because it's not like Loreley Splendor, so it won't regen your health. And you kind of have to be in combat constantly. And then last but not least, Ember of Searing, mostly for the plus 10 recovery. Speaking of which, as you can see in my stats, my resilience recovery are really high. I would suggest having them pretty high because these require you to be in combat. Into the actual mods, I have Rocket Launcher Ammo Finder. That is not necessary, but whatever your heavy weapon is, I would suggest having that Ammo Finder. Harmonic Siphon is a must. Then I have Elemental Armaments to spawn those Elemental Wells. The double submachine gun loader is absolutely necessary if you're going to be using Teraba, because that reload animation is really goddamn slow. Well of Life is also necessary. I just put the minor recovery here just so I could have something there. For the chest, I'm using Elemental Ordnance. You can kind of switch around where the these Charge with Light mods, I would suggest though having that same consistency though. I'm using Armor of the Dying Star. Since that is going away, you could also replace this with like Rocket Reserves or whatever your specialists have that reserve. But for now, using Armor of the Dying Star, I would suggest having Sniper Damage Resistance on, just because a lot of your solo weapons aren't super long distance, and then obviously recovery. For the legs, you could either have a Resilience and then Absolution here, but I just decided to go with Intellect, and Heal Thyself is very helpful in case you're like an emergency situation. Lob a grenade, you'll basically be regen to full health instantly. If you're going to have that, then definitely have Elemental Charge on, just so you can at least have that constant state of Charge with Light. If you are not using a mod that actually uses up stacks of Charge with Light, instead you could have like Explosive Well Maker for when you're using rockets, Well of Ordnance. You could even replace this with Font of Might, which honestly I'll probably do that, since from what I've tested it doesn't really help as much as one might think. And then for here, just probably have that extra. I don't think you necessarily need strength, but I'd probably have like elemental armaments here. Distribution is really good. I would suggest having this on, especially if you're not using that throwing hammer melee. But I'm going to show you how this kind of operates with this Lost Sector. Also, I found out that your throwing hammer can actually activate trip mines. So there's that. And the reload can sometimes... God, I really do not like the reload when it's not on Ravenous Beast. Okay, and Firewalker times 4. Watch the Captain. Instant deletion. Jesus Christ, that's more damage than I thought would happen. You can also use that to extend your Firewalker as well, as far as like the throwing hammer. Okay, don't mind my garbage aim. Ooh, that was a little close. Well, that captain got absolutely demolished. Jeez. Honestly, this Teraba kind of acts like a special weapon with this, which is kind of insane. And also, if you look at your feet, you can kind of see the fire there when your Firewalker's active. Oh my god. I just feel like this should not be happening. I'm gonna save Ravenous Beast for when that servitor's actually dead. Watch how much damage it does. Oh my god! Okay, the servitor's already dead. I will say, if your helmet is stasis, especially if you want to increase the amount of orbs you can generate with your super, you can actually replace whatever ammo finder mod you have on to power preservation, and that'll make your super generate way more orbs. Because honestly, you don't really need an ammo finder too much from what I found. Yeah, there's a pretty nasty build, I must say so myself. If you think anything can be improved on this, definitely let me know. I don't know what good kinetic special would work. If you have any ideas, let me know. This would probably work also in PvP, but I feel like it'd be a little bit more difficult. Even though Teraba is kind of nasty in PvP from what I've seen. Let me know. On that note, thanks for watching, and good luck out there.